Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nak. Today we're going to learn how to divide the polynomials. Before we deal with polynomials, let's just review how to divide just the numbers. So let's take a look at 842 divided by 15. Well, that's same thing as rewriting it as 842 divided by 15. That's another way to write it. And then if you want to do the long division, you will write it as 842 divided by 15. Now from here, what you have to do is, how many times is 15 is going to go into 84? So I think that will be 5. If not, we'll just write together. And then what do you do next? You multiply 5 times 15, and then you'll write the result in here. So 5 times 15 is going to give us 75, right? And then what do? You draw the line and you subtract, but it's not same thing as change the sign on the bottom and then you add vertically, right? So here what we're going to get is just 9, and then you drop down this 2. So now you're going to have to ask yourself, 15 times what is going to go into 92? So is it 6? And then what do? You go 6 times 15, and then you'll write your result underneath 92. So here, what's 6 times 15? That's 90. And then you will subtract, right? But that's same thing as changing the sign on the bottom, and then you add vertically. So the remainder is going to be 2. So they all have a different name. So this number here is called a quotient. And this number here is called a dividend. And this number here is called the divisor. And as you know, the last one right here is the remainder. So what the heck does this all mean? Well, 842 divided by 15, I can write this as the quotient plus the remainder over the divisor. So here what you're going to get is remainder is 2 over the divisor is 15. So basically, dividend over divisor equals quotient plus remainder over the divisor. Now when you divide the two polynomials together, the same rule is going to apply. I think the best way to learn this is by doing examples, so let's do it. Alright, so let's try to divide 3x cubed plus 4x squared plus x plus 7 all over x squared plus 1. So first what we need to do is we need to set this up in a long division of a polynomial form. So we're going to do the same thing. So first we're going to take our dividend, which is 3x cubed plus 4x squared plus x plus 7. Now make sure that none of the variables are missing, meaning make sure that if it's going to start from x cubed, then you're going to have x squared and then x and the constant. If something is missing, then you're going to have to make a placeholder by inserting by 0. I'll show you that in a minute. But anyways, so let me just set this up. So this whole thing divided by x squared plus 1. But notice that x squared plus 1, it starts from degree 2, but notice that degree 1 is missing. So what you need to do is this. You're going to have to rewrite this as x squared plus 0x and then plus 1. Alright, so let's do this. So step number 1 is this. What you want to do is you want to come up with some value here so that when you multiply this quantity with x squared, we're going to get our first term back, in this case, which is 3x cubed. So you're going to have to ask yourself, what times x squared is going to give us 3x cubed? Well, isn't it nothing but just 3x? So I'm going to write that directly above here because I'm just going to match it up with the x, that's all. So then, do you see that if I multiply 3x times x squared, then I'm going to get 3x cubed. So next step, just multiply it out. Make sure that the first term is going to match up. You'll see why in a minute. Now what you need to do is you take your 3x, multiply that to 0x squared. So anything times 0 is just a 0. So I'm going to write it as plus 0x squared. Sorry, in this case it's squared because you have an x times x. And then next what you need to do is 3x times 1. What's 3x times 1? That's nothing but just 3x. Alright, so now let's go back to what we did here. So we are pretty much at this stage here. Yes, I know our first number didn't match up because we couldn't, because we're just dealing with the numerical value. But the procedure is exactly the same. So after we got to the 75, what did you do? Draw the line, change the sign on the bottom, and then you add it vertically. So we're going to do exactly the same thing here. So first what we're going to do is draw the line, and then change the sign on the bottom. So if we have a 3x cubed, that's a positive, so you're going to have to change that to a negative. Now this is going to become negative 0x squared. Now next one is going to be negative 3x. Now what did you do? Let's go back over here. So after you change the sign on the bottom, you add it vertically, right? So here what we need to do is this. We're going to have to add vertically. Notice that 3x cubed and then minus 3x cubed, that's going to cancel out. And that needs to happen when you do the long divisions of polynomial. All right, now let's go over here. We have 4x squared minus 0x squared. So that's exactly the same thing as just 4x squared. Now the next one is this. You have a positive x minus 3x. So that's going to give us negative 2x. All right. So now we are at this stage here. Okay, so what we did on the next step was what? You just drop down the very last number down. So we're going to do the same thing. Next step, we're going to drop down our 7. Okay, so then here, if I drop it down, I'm going to have plus 7. Now, we're going to have to go again because in order for us to stop the procedure, the degree of the remainder has to be strictly less than the degree of the divisor. Now the degree of the divisor is 2 and the degree of the remainder is 2 at this moment, so that means that you have to go one more time. All right, so then we do the same game. So you say what times x squared is going to give us 4x squared? Well, that's nothing but plus 4, right? So then you do the same procedure. You go 4 times x squared, which is 4x squared. And then you take 4 times 0x, which is going to be plus 0x. And then you go 4 times 1, which is going to be plus 1. I mean, plus 4. All right. So now, next step, draw the line, change the sign on the bottom. So that becomes a negative, negative, and then negative. Then you add vertically. The first term better disappear again, so we're good to go. Because this is going to disappear, obviously, just like what happened here. All right, now let's add vertically on the rest of it. So what do we get? Negative 2x, and then you have, what is that? Plus 7 minus 4, so that's going to be plus 3. All right, so what do you think? Can we stop now? Is the degree of the remainder, is it smaller than the degree of the divisor? I think so. So then you stop. All right, so how do you write this answer? So our question was, divide 3x cubed plus 4x squared plus x plus 7 divided by x squared plus 1. So look at it. Dividend over the divisor. So this is our dividend over the divisor is nothing but a quotient. In this case, we're going to have 3x plus 4 plus the remainder. Our remainder is negative 2x plus 3 over the divisor. So divisor in this case is x squared plus 1. So let's write it out. So we have 3x cubed plus 4x squared plus x plus 7. Whole thing divided by x squared plus 1. This is going to equal to 3x plus 4. So this is the quotient. And then plus negative 2x plus 3. Whole thing over the divisor, which is going to be x squared and then plus 1. And that is going to be our answer. Let's do another example. So divide 4x to the fourth plus 2x cubed minus 4x squared plus 2x plus 2, whole thing divided by 2x plus 1. All right, so what we're going to do first is we're going to set up the long division. So here, what I would do is, let's just write down our dividend, which is 4x to the fourth plus 2x cubed. Are we missing any terms? We got an x fourth, x cubed, x squared, x, and then a constant. No, we're not missing anything. So you're going to have minus 4x squared, and then plus 2x plus 2. Now we're going to divide that whole thing by 2x plus 1, which we're not missing any term because we have degree 1, and then 1 less is a constant. So I'm just going to write it as 2x plus 1. All right, so the next step is this. You're going to have to ask yourself, what times 2x is going to give us 4x to the fourth? Now, suppose that you cannot figure that out. It's not the end of the world because this is all you need to do. If you want to find out what times 2x is going to give us 4x squared, all you have to do is this. Take your 4x to the fourth divided by 2x. So what is that going to give us? 2x to the third. So that is the quantity that you're going to have to multiply to 2x to get 4x to the fourth. So let me just write that directly above where the x cube is. So you're going to have 2x to the third. Now you do the same business. You multiply 2x to the third times 2x. That's going to give us 4x to the fourth. And then next you take 2x cubed and then multiply by 1. So that's what we're going to get is plus 2x cubed. All right, now remember what to do next. Draw the line, change the sign on the bottom, and then you add vertically. So of course the first term better cancel out. Now if I add vertically, the next term is going to be 0, right? So I'm going to have a 0. So what we need to do next is to drop down our next term, which is negative 4x squared. So let me just drop that out. Then I'm going to drop down and then plus 2x. All right, so now we play the same game. So you're going to have to ask yourself, what times 2x is going to give us negative 4x squared? So if you cannot figure it out, just go like this. What is negative 4x squared divided by 2x? So that's same thing as negative 2x, isn't it? So what we need to do now is you're going to have to rewrite this as minus 2x. And then you do the same business. So you're going to go negative 2x times 2x. That's going to give us negative 4x squared. And then you take negative 2x and multiply by 1. So that's going to give us negative 2x. All right, so next, what do? Draw the line, change the sign on the bottom, and then you add vertically. Oh my goodness, everything's canceling out nicely, huh? So this is going to be 0. This is going to be 0. So what do? You have no choice but to drop down this 2. And then 2 is going to be the remainder. Do you see why? Because look, what's the degree of the divisor? It's 1. What's 1 less of it? It's a constant. So we're done. Okay, so we can write our answer now. So therefore, 4x to the fourth plus 2x cubed minus 4x squared plus 2x plus 2, whole thing divided by 2x plus 1 is going to be quotient, which is going to be 2x cubed minus 2x, and then plus the remainder, which is 2, over the divisor. Divisor is 2x plus 1. And that's our answer. Now, what I like to show you now is a little bit quicker way to divide the two polynomials together, and that's called a synthetic division. Now, can I use this procedure to every single division problems? Answer is no. Here is the criteria. In order for us to use the synthetic division, your divisor must be a binomial with a leading coefficient of 1. So your divisor must look like x minus c, where c is a constant and x is the variable. So for instance, let's just look at the example that we just did. who's the divisor? We have 2x plus 1. So here, you cannot apply the synthetic division because the leading coefficient, yes, this is the binomial, that part is good. Now, this part here is 2 instead of a 1. So therefore, you cannot apply the synthetic division to a problem like that. Also, please note that synthetic division, you can use it if this is of the form, it's a binomial of degree 1. So if this is something like x squared minus 1, then you cannot apply the synthetic division. It must be a leading coefficient of 1, and the exponent on the x has to be 1. Let's take a look at example 3. Divide 4x cubed plus 2x squared minus 6x minus 20 by x plus 2. So first, what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the long divisions of a polynomial first. Then let's do the synthetic division. Okay, so first I'm going to set this up. So we have 4x cubed plus 10x squared minus 6x minus 20. Are we missing any terms? No, we have a x cubed, x squared, x, and a constant. We're good to go. And whole thing divided by x plus 2. All right, so let's go. We're going to have to ask ourselves what times x is going to give us 4x cubed. So if you cannot guess it, again, you can just go 4x cubed divided by x. So that's going to give us 4x squared. So that's the number that we need first. So here what we're going to get is 4x squared. Now you multiply the 4x squared times x and then plus 4x squared times 2. So here what we're going to get is 4x cubed plus 8x squared. All right, now what we're going to do is this, draw the line, change the sign on the bottom, and then you add vertically. So first term disappears, that's exactly what we want. Now we have 10x squared minus 8x squared, so that's going to give us 2x squared. Now we have to keep going because the degree of the divisor is 1 and the remainder is 2, right? 2x squared meaning the degree is 2, so you got to go again. So let me just drop down minus 6x. Now let's play the same game. What times x is going to give us 2x squared? That will be 2x. Then you're going to multiply 2x times x. That's going to give us 2x squared. And then you go 2x times 2. That's going to give us plus 4x. All right, so now what we're going to do is the same thing. Draw the line and change the sign on the bottom, and then you add vertically. So first term is going to disappear. Now we're going to have negative 10x. Now we still have to go because the degree of the remainder is just 1 still. All right, so now you're going to have to drop down minus 20. Okay, so now what times x is going to give us negative 10x? That will be just negative 10. Now you're going to multiply negative 10 to each term of that divisor to get negative 10x and then minus 20. All right, so now draw the line, change the sign on the bottom, and then you add vertically. Oh goodness, this turned out to be a very nice one because remainder turned out to be a 0. All right, so therefore our answer is going to be 4x squared plus 2x minus 10, and then plus the 0 over x plus 2. So 0 over any quantity is going to be 0. So don't even, if the remainder is 0, no need to write plus 0 over x plus 2. So I'm just going to box that for the answer. All right, next, let's do the same problem by using the synthetic division. I think we can use the synthetic division because look at the divisor. Divisor is nothing but x plus 2, so I can rewrite that as x minus and then minus 2, right? Because in order for us to use a synthetic division, it better be of the form x minus c. So you better have that minus sign in between the variable and the number. Okay, so in this case, here are all your steps. So first, write down that c. The constant c, in this case, it's negative 2. So basically, all you have to do is just take the opposite of whatever that you have here. Since it's positive 2, then you take the negative 2. All right, so first I'm going to write it like this, -2, and then make a little box. All right, so next what you need to do is this. Write down all the coefficient on x cubed, x squared, and then x and the constant. All right, so then here what we're going to get is 4, and then +10, -6, and then -20. All right, just go with it. Okay, we're gonna do another example in a minute, so don't worry. Now, leave a little room and then draw a line. All right, so that's the setup. Now, what do? Step number 1, drop this first number down. Okay, so here I'm going to first drop down the 4. All right, now next what we need to do is this. You multiply -2 times 4. And that number is going to go in here. All right, so the -2 times 4, let me just write it like this. You multiply this out, and that number goes to here. All right, so then here you're going to have -8. Is that all right? And then next what you need to do is this. You need to add vertically. So if I add vertically, then you're going to have +2. I'm just going to write it as 2. Okay, so now we're going to keep doing the same procedure. All right, so next what we need to do is you take your -2 and then you multiply that with +2, and you're going to write the result in here. All right, so you got a -2 times 2, so we're going to have, what is that, -4. So far so good. Now next step, what you're going to do is you're going to add these numbers vertically. Then here you're going to have -10. So you keep doing the same procedure. So next what we're going to do is take our -2 and then you multiply that with -10 and then write the result here. So that's going to be, what is that, +20. All right, then same thing. You're going to add those two numbers together and write the answer. So you got a -20 plus 20, so that's going to be 0. All right, so let's just stop here for a minute. Look at our answer that we got by doing the long division and look at those numerical values. Do you see the resemblance? Right? So what's going to happen is this. 4 is going to be the coefficient on x squared, because look at it. Our dividend, the degree of the dividend was 3. And then you're going to divide that by x, right? So the results should be x squared. If you go x third divided by x, that's going to give us x squared, right? So this is going to be the coefficient on your x squared. This is the coefficient on x. This is the constant. And the last term is going to be the remainder. So here, this translates into, you're going to have 4x squared. So always, your answer is always going to start out with 1 degree less than your dividend. Okay, so look at it. Our dividend was, the degree of the dividend was 3. So this will be the coefficient on 1 degree less. That would be x squared. That's what we have here. All right, and then he's just going to write down as plus 2x and then minus 10, and the remainder is 0, so I'm not going to even write that out. So look at it. Our answer matches up. Well, we better, or we did something totally wrong. All right, so let's do another example just so that you can get comfortable. Let's divide x to the 4th minus 3x squared plus 1 divided by x minus 1. So can I use synthetic division on this? Answer is yes, because we have a binomial of degree 1 whose leading coefficient is 1. All right, so let's use synthetic division on this guy. Okay, so let me just write it out. Okay, so first step is this. Let's write down the key number, which is going to be the opposite of minus 1. So that's going to be positive 1. So you're going to write down as 1, put a little box. Okay, so now remember what to do. You write down the coefficient on your dividend. Okay, so, but be careful. Look at it. This is x to the fourth. Now, do you see that we're missing x cubed, right? So in that case, remember when you did the long division, you had to write it as 0x cubed. Same thing's going to happen for the synthetic division. All right, and then we got an x squared term, but we're missing the x term, right? So that means that you have to replace that with a 0 as well. All right, so if I do this, you're going to have 1 and then 0 x cubed minus 3x squared and then plus 0x and then plus 1. So that will be your setup. Okay, so now you draw the line and we're going to do the same thing. So ready? You're going to drop down this number down. So that's going to be 1. Then you're going to go 1 times 1, which is 1. So I'm just going to write that in here. Now, next step, what you need to do is you add vertically. So you're still going to get 1. And you do the same thing. Now, 1 times 1 is another 1. So I'm going to write it as 1. And then you add vertically. So you're going to have negative 2. And then you go 1 times negative 2. That's going to give us negative 2. So I'm going to write that out. You add vertically to get a negative 2. And then lastly, you're going to go 1 times negative 2. So that's another negative 2. Add vertically. And then you're going to have negative 1. Now, since the degree of the dividend was 4, you're going to have to start out with x cubed, 1 degree less always. So this is the coefficient on x cubed. This is going to be the coefficient on x squared. This is the coefficient on x. This is the constant term. And this guy becomes the remainder. All right, so let's write that out. So our answer is going to be just x cubed plus 1x squared and then minus 2x and then minus 2 and then plus the remainder is negative 1 over the divisor always. So you're going to have x minus 1. So I think this way is much quicker, but you cannot apply that synthetic division to every problem. Again, only time that you can apply is if the divisor is the binomial of degree 1 whose leading coefficient's 1. All right, then I'm going to stop here. So good job, everyone. And if you have any questions at all, please let me know.